Welcome back to the Deep Dive, everyone, and a special welcome if you're joining us through the One More Bitcoin channel. Today, we're diving into something pretty significant into the DeFi space. The One More Money blog recently called it the new king of DPX platforms. We're talking about Hyperliquid.
Yeah, it's a bold title, but you have to understand the context. Remember, late 2022, the FTX collapse.
Oh, yeah, impossible to forget.
Exactly. It just shattered trust in those big centralized exchanges, the CEXs. Suddenly, everyone wanted non-custodial options, especially for derivatives. But, and this is the key thing, they still needed speed. They didn't want to give up that CEX performance.
Right, the classic crypto dilemma. You want the security and self-custody of DeFi, but you also need the speed and usability you get from centralized platforms. So that's our mission today, really, to unpack how Hyperliquid is trying to thread that needle. How do they deliver that CEX level experience? You know, the low latency, the fast execution that pro traders demand, while still keeping things on-chain and non-custodial.
Well, it boils down to a really interesting architectural choice. A compromise, you could say. They're laser-focused on giving you that top-tier user experience speed, deep liquidity, minimal waiting. But crucially, the actual holding of your funds, the final settlement of trades, that stays transparently on the blockchain.
Okay, so that focus on the professional trader, that must lead us to their main feature, the thing that really sets them apart.
Absolutely. It's the native order book model.
Yeah.
This is, fundamentally different from how most DEX operate.
Different from the AMMs like Uniswap.
Precisely. AMMs, automated market makers, they're great for simple token swaps, revolutionary even. But for complex stuff like leverage derivatives, they have serious limitations.
What kind of limitations are we talking about? Like price uncertainty.
Exactly. With an AMM pool, you can't place a limit order. You can't guarantee your entry or exit price. You're subject to whatever the pool price is when your trade executes.
And slippage becomes a huge issue, especially with leverage.
Oh, it's lethal. The One More Money blog had a great example. Imagine you want to open a leveraged Bitcoin position at, say, $78,000. On a thin AMM pool, the price impact of your trade, the slippage, could easily push your actual execution price up to $80,500.
Wow, that's a $2,500 difference. On a leveraged trade, that could.
It could liquidate you instantly, wiped out before you even start. An order book, like on a traditional exchange, eliminates that specific type of slippage risk. You set your price, and if there's a counterparty, it executes at that price.
Okay, so that explains why pros need the order book. But how did Hyperliquid achieve that kind of performance while staying decentralized? You can't just run a CEX-style order book on, say, Ethereum easily.
Yeah, no, definitely not. They realized pretty early on that existing layer 1 blockchains, even the faster ones, just weren't cut out for it. Running a high-frequency order book creates massive performance demands, scalability, gas costs, latency. It's a different beast.
So they built their own.
They did. They built a custom proprietary layer 1 blockchain from the ground up, specifically designed for this one purpose.
A bespoke engine for a specific job. Makes sense.
Exactly. This L1 uses their own consensus mechanism, something called HyperBFT. Now, the marketing numbers are eye-popping. They claim 100,000, maybe even 200,000 transactions per second.
Huge numbers.
Huge numbers. But what's arguably more important than the peak TPS is the predictable low latency and finality needed for matching orders in real time.
And for the user, what does that translate to? What's the benefit?
Two massive benefits. First, near instant order execution. Feels like using a CEX. Second, and this is huge, zero gas fees for trading.
Zero gas.
Because it's their own specialized chain, they can structure it so that the core trading operations don't require individual gas payments from the user. It's bundled into the platform's operation.
All while keeping settlement on-chain and letting you hold your own keys.
Yeah.
That's pretty compelling.
It is. And the One More Money blog drew a comparison to Solana, right? People might ask, why not just build on a fast chain like Solana?
Yeah, good question.
Well, even Solana, despite its impressive tech and high peak TPS numbers and tests, its real-world sustained throughput is more in the range of, say, 1,000 to maybe 3,700 TPS. That's still fast, but for running a sophisticated high-frequency order book matching thousands of orders constantly, that performance gap is still significant. Building their own L1 gave them total control over optimization.
Okay, but building your own chain, running the order book, there has to be a catch, right? Where's the trade-off? You mentioned a compromise earlier.
Right. This is where the decentralization purists might raise an eyebrow. It's a hybrid model. The matching and the bit that actually takes the buy and sell orders and pairs them up that runs off-chain.
Off-chain. Like on regular servers.
Essentially, yes. For pure, unadulterated speed, you can't match orders that fast directly on most blockchains today.
But the money, the custody and settlement.
That stays on chain. Your funds are in your wallet, controlled by you, and the final ledger of who owns what after a trade is settled transparently on their L1 blockchain.
So speed for matching via centralization, trust for funds via decentralization. It's a pragmatic approach.
It is. They prioritize the user experience where it matters most for traders' execution speed while maintaining the core promise of self-custody.
Makes sense. Now, for an order book to work, you need liquidity. Lots of it. CEXs have big market makers providing that. How does Hyperliquid do it in a decentralized way?
Good question. They use something called the HLP Vault, which stands for Hyperliquid Vault. Instead of just relying on a few big professional firms, they kind of crowdsource the liquidity.
How does that work? Users deposit assets.
Exactly. Regular users, like you, can deposit stablecoins, mostly USDC, I believe, into this HLP vault. Collectively, the assets in that vault act as the counterparty for all the trades happening on the platform. It provides the depth needed for the order book.
Interesting. So why would users lock up their USDC in this vault? What's in it for them?
They get paid for it. Liquidity providers, or LPs, in the HLP vault earn returns from two main sources. First, they get a cut of the trading fees generated on the exchange. More volume means more fees, means better returns for LPs.
Okay, standard DeFi yield.
Right. But second, and this is quite specific to derivatives platforms, they also profit from liquidations. When a leveraged trader gets wiped out, their collateral is often sold off. The HLP vault participants effectively get to acquire those assets at a discount, boosting their returns.
Ah, so it democratizes the market-making role and its potential profits. And that deep liquidity then attracts more traders.
Exactly. It creates a positive feedback loop. Deep liquidity attracts serious traders, who generate more volume and fees, which attracts more liquidity to the HLP vault, making the market even deeper.
And this model seems to be working, judging by the numbers. The One More Money blog had some pretty startling figures on their market share.
Yeah, the scale is... well, it's dominant, frankly. As of the blog's writing, we're talking weekly trading volumes hitting between 56 billion and 70 billion US dollars.
56 to 70 billion a week on a DEX.
Correct. And the total value locked, the TVL in the system, primarily in that HLP vault, is around $5.0 billion.
5 billion TVL. How does that stack up against other big derivative DEXs, like DYDX or GMX?
It dwarfs them currently. DYDX, which was a leader, has seen its TVL shrink quite a bit, down to maybe $230 million, according to the blog. GMX is larger, around $630 million TVL. But Hyperliquid's $5 billion, it's just a different league right now. And crucially, that liquidity is mostly high-quality assets like ETH and stablecoins, which adds to perceived reliability.
So this scale, this dominance, it feeds into a larger ambition, doesn't it? The blog mentioned this idea of an on-chain FTX Binance.
Yeah, that's the strategic vision. It's not just about being an exchange. It's about building an entire financial ecosystem on their own layer one.
Like a vertically integrated powerhouse, but decentralized.
Kind of. The idea is this self-reinforcing economic flywheel. You have massive volume on the exchange, right, that generates huge fees and activity. This activity creates demand for the underlying L1 blockchain itself, for its block space, potentially for its native token if it has one that captures value.
And that demand makes the L1 more valuable, more attractive.
Exactly, which then encourages other developers to build more applications on Hyperliquid's L1, maybe lending protocols, spot exchanges, other DeFi apps. It creates this whole ecosystem with the derivatives exchange as the engine, all reinforcing each other. A growing economy built on their custom chain.
It's ambitious, a full-stack financial platform on-chain. So, what drove this incredibly rapid growth? The One More Money blog pointed to a few key factors.
Yeah, several things came together. First, founder expertise. This is huge. The team reportedly comes from a major global high-frequency trading firm, like a top 15 player.
So they know low-latency systems inside out.
Precisely. They understand exactly what professional traders need in terms of performance, reliability, and precision. The product was built by traders, for traders, from day one.
What else?
Second, their self-funding model. Apparently, they didn't take early venture capital money.
That's unusual in crypto. Why is that significant?
It gives them autonomy. No pressure from VCs demanding quick flips, token pumps, or feature changes that might compromise the core product vision. They could focus purely on building the best possible exchange.
Product first.
Right, which leads to the third point, product-led growth. People started using Hyperliquid simply because it worked really well. It offered that CEX feel with self-custody. Growth was organic, driven by performance, not just hype.
And the fourth driver, there was an airdrop involved, wasn't there?
Yes, a very tactical airdrop. They allocated a significant chunk. The blog says 31% of the eventual token supply to reward early users and liquidity providers. That's a classic crypto move to bootstrap a network, get people involved, and create immediate buzz and usage. It clearly worked as a catalyst.
Okay, it's a compelling growth story, expertise, independence, great product, smart incentives. But we always need to look at the risks, right? This speed, this performance, it came from that hybrid model, that centralization compromise. Surely that introduces vulnerability.
Absolutely. That's the flip side of the coin. The quest for performance has led to some significant centralization risks, particularly in the platform's governance and architecture.
Where's the most obvious risk?
Validator concentration, for one. Their custom L1 needs validators to confirm transactions, right? At launch, the blog notes there were only 16 validators.
16.
It's very small. And there's suspicion, quite reasonably, that these are likely controlled primarily by the core team or closely affiliated entities. That's a far cry from a truly decentralized network.
Doesn't that undermine the whole non-custodial promise if the team essentially controls the ledger?
It certainly introduces a trust element that decentralization aims to remove, and it doesn't stop there. Token staking centralization is another concern. Apparently, foundation-controlled nodes hold something like 80% of the staked tokens used for securing the network and governance.
80%. So they effectively have overwhelming control over any governance decisions.
It gives them outsized influence, yes. Again, a structural centralization that sits uneasily with the DEX label and the massive value locked in the system.
And what about the code itself? Is it open source? Can people verify it?
That's another major point of criticism. The core code is closed source.
So no independent audits, no community verification of how the matching engine or even parts of the L1 really work.
Not for the critical components, no. This lack of transparency is a significant risk. It prevents the wider security community from finding potential bugs or vulnerabilities. Plus, they rely on a single client implementation. If there's one critical bug in that single client, it could potentially bring down the whole system or lead to exploits. Diversified clients add resilience.
Okay, so internal risks related to centralization and transparency. What about external threats?
Two big ones looming. First, inevitably, regulatory scrutiny.
The regulators are coming for perps and leverage.
They are. Perpetual futures, high leverage, platforms operating without strict know your customer, KYC checks. These are all squarely in the regulator sights globally. As Hyperliquid gets bigger and starts looking like an on-chain Binance, you can bet regulatory pressure will intensify. They might be forced to implement KYC, restrict leverage, or block users from certain jurisdictions.
Which could significantly impact their user base and volume.
Potentially, yes. And the second major external risk is token unlock pressure.
Right, the airdrop was only part of the supply. What about the rest?
A very large portion, around 60% according to the blog, is still locked up, belonging to the team, early contributors, maybe future incentives. There's a major unlock schedule starting soon, specifically November 29th for contributor tokens, rolling out over 24 months.
What does that mean in practical terms? Sell pressure.
Potentially massive sell pressure. The One More Money blog estimated this could mean around 450 million tokens hitting the market each month as they unlock linearly.
450 million tokens a month. That's a huge overhang. That could seriously suppress the token price if buy demand doesn't keep pace.
It's a significant risk factor for the token's valuation, absolutely. Constant, predictable sell pressure over 2 years.
Okay, so pulling this all together, Hyperliquid has achieved something remarkable, right? CEX performance in a DX wrapper, attracting huge volume.
Yes, they've absolutely nailed the product market fit for performance-sensitive derivatives traders in a post-FTX world. But the central question now for you listening is this. They used a hybrid, semi-centralized model to get here. Can they successfully transition to a truly decentralized, sustainable model? And can they do it before that token unlock tsunami hits and regulatory crackdowns potentially force major changes? That's the race they're in.
So what are the key things we need to watch for? The milestones that will tell us if they're making that transition?
Several key developments. We need to see a genuine, significant expansion of the validator set beyond just team-controlled nodes. That's fundamental.
More decentralization at the base layer.
Exactly. Second, they need to open source the core code. Building trust requires transparency and auditability, especially with billions at stake.
And third, You mentioned building an ecosystem.
Right. The launch and adoption of their promised EVM-compatible layer, which they call Hyper EVM. If they can attract other developers to build a thriving ecosystem of apps beyond just their own exchange, that would significantly strengthen their long-term position and the value proposition of their L1.
So decentralize the core, open the source, expand the ecosystem. Those are the big tests ahead.
They are. Hyperliquid has shown what's possible in terms of performance. They've defined that next-gen DEX experience. Now they have to prove they can scale safely, decentralize credibly, and navigate the compliance landscape to actually become that sustainable, on-chain financial giant they aspire to be. It's a fascinating challenge to watch.
Indeed. A powerful place to leave things for this deep dive. Now, just a quick but important note. This discussion is for educational purposes only and is not investment advice. Crypto derivatives and infrastructure tokens carry significant risk. Please do your own research and carefully consider regulatory and personal risk factors before making any decisions. Okay, thank you so much for tuning into our deep dive on Hyperliquid, especially to our viewers on the One More Bitcoin channel. If you find this kind of content valuable, discussions on cryptocurrencies, DEX platforms, real-world assets, DeFi, Bitcoin investment strategy, then please do subscribe to the One More Bitcoin channel. That way you won't miss out on our future analyses. And hey, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a like if you found this useful and leave a comment below. What do you think about Hyperliquid's model and its future? Let us know. Thank you for watching again, and we'll see you in the next deep dive about blockchain, Bitcoin, and crypto.